Welcome back to another season of Cantinho Benfiquista podcast, season 6 to be exact, where the only thing guaranteed is, unfortunately, chaos. Feels like only yesterday we were basking in the glory of a Supertaça win against our bitter rivals, thinking maybe this season we will be better off. Boy, we were wrong. It's only October. We blinked suddenly. Bruno Lage was gone, replaced by the man, the myth, the legend, José Mourinho. We went from a mild-mannered Tuesday night dinner to a full-blown stadium-rocking wedding reception overnight. Special One Special Chaos has officially returned to Lisbon, although he's not yet shown that side of himself, yet at least. And how's that chaos translating on the pitch? Well, we're in the Champions League, which is fantastic, but we've managed to brilliantly avoid picking up a single win in 2 matches. Meanwhile, in the league, we're already trailing the leaders by a cool yet annoying 4 points, although it could have been worse after the last match day. And as if all that wasn't enough for our blood pressure, we're just 11 days away from an election. Yes, we have to elect a new president or re-elect our current president. So grab a beer or maybe something stronger. You might need it because we're diving headfirst into the madness that is Benfica of the 25-26 season. Today we have Bill, we have Kenny. We're back for season 6, episode 214 overall. Jason and Oscar were not able to join us. We've been long overdue. It's been a long pause from when we were here to end last season, or actually the Club World Cup. Lots of things have happened since then. Life, travel, work, babies. There's a new baby in the world, Jason, and welcomed a new baby girl, and Stephanie. So congrats to them. I don't think we've been on since they had the baby. Their baby was born in August.
I think so, yeah.
We haven't been on, so congrats to them. We got a new Benfica fan in the world. Go left to right here. Bill, welcome back. How you feeling?
I feel like we just live in the chaos at this point. It's just part of our DNA at this point, which is unfortunate, but we'll see if Mo can settle the ship a little bit.
It wouldn't be Benfica if it didn't have chaos in it, right?
No, definitely not.
Kenny, how was it? How are you doing? And how's it to be back?
It's good to be back. It's definitely been a while. Thinking about it, a lot has changed, but yet nothing really has changed to Benfica. So, rinse and repeat. Unfortunately, yeah, it's unfortunate, but we'll see. We'll see what the rest of the season has to offer.
Maybe we'll bring some good mojo to the team now that we're back. We can only hope so. We're gonna start with the obvious topic. We'll talk about the manager change. We'll talk about the transfer window, which had a lot of criticism. We'll talk about current form, and we will talk about, if we get to it, elections. We got 65 minutes of lots of action for you guys tonight, which is more than Benfica's given us during a 90-minute match. But that's what we're here for, to entertain and hopefully not make you guys fall asleep. So Bruno Lage, Mourinho. Oscar's not here to defend Bruno Lage.
Surprise.
Unless he jumps in, but he's probably watching and he'll probably get annoyed by our feedback and he'll jump in like he
100%.
But I'll start with Kenny, because Kenny's been somewhat critical in our group chat from the messages that I've read, just kind of in terms of performances and kind of, where we are today. Are you surprised by the managerial change, and kind of how do you see that, Kenny?
I'd like to say that I'm not, but no, I'd like to say that I am, but I'm not, because to me it's the same story as last year, right? You start the season, you finish the season off in a poor way. And again, Rui Costa hitches his wagon to the coach going into the new season, builds the squad around it based on that coach, and just a few games in, you disassemble the whole thing. To me, that's a waste. It's a waste of a season. Like, I know it's only a few games and there's so much league to play and this and that, but similar to like our performances where like I feel like we just throw away the first 45 minutes of games. I feel like it was a wasted time. The writing was on the wall for Lage at the end of last season. He should have let him go at that time. Come up with a different plan going into this season, and knowing that you have elections coming up, like it's just a cluster. It's just a cluster fuck for the beginning of this season. And to me, it's just again, it's kind of a waste. And I know it's still early and there's still a lot to play and we're still in all the fronts, but it just feel like I just don't have that good feeling going on. Now, of course, things could turn around, but it's I'm not surprised again because Rui Costa did it with Roger the previous season. It's the same story. We saw how that ended, and it's most likely going to happen again.
I'm gonna ask you a question here before I pass it to Bill, which is, I know you mentioned kind of hitching his wagon to him, and the way I look at it is I think the Roger Schmidt situation is slightly different than this one, and here's why. Is Rui Costa, his explanation was, we had a very short off season. We had the Club World Cup. He felt more confident with having Bruno Lage lead the team through the Club World Cup, the 2-week off season, and into the Supertaça and try to get into the Champions League because it was all one on top of the other, rather than bringing in a new manager who now has to get accustomed to the squad. Transfer movements all of a sudden now take kind of a different turn. You then have that uncertainty of like new manager, current squad, how do they adapt? And if you fail Champions League, now really everything shits the bed. So does that explanation kind of make sense in terms of why they held on to Bruno Lage? And let's be honest, if Benfica doesn't shit the bed against Karabag, Bruno Lage probably still is the manager today, realistically. But does that make sense? I mean, for me, I think that approach makes sense. Whether that was his thought process or not, there's a lot of rumors that Mourinho was already being prepared in the background. Only they know that what's true or what's not. But does that make sense?
Well, let's take a look. How did Porto handle their situation with their coach?
Porto got out of the Club World Cup earlier, and 2, they didn't have to qualify for Europa League.
Fair, but they still managed. They still had the World Cup to like think about. I mean, I understand that like you didn't have a proper preseason, but like the Club World Cup, you could almost think of it as a preseason in itself. Whether you wanted to treat it or not, you still got players time to play. You got to see what was working, what wasn't. Now, yes, Benfica had some late play. I mean, but like look at Porto. Porto had an influx of players come in too. And I don't think it's an excuse that you were in a tournament that you want to be in and you're now using it as an excuse to the poor start to the season or whatever decision you ended up making at the coaching level. I mean, I'm sure Benfica's not the only club that went through this. Porto went through it, and I'm sure there's others. And they managed that. I mean, Chelsea won the damn thing, and they're managing their season. They have a big workload as well, right? So I don't like that's just to me small team mentality. If nitpicking at we didn't have a preseason. Okay, so would you rather have a preseason or not, or just not be a part of World Championship Cup, whatever it's called, right? Like you want Club World Cup, like you want to be a part of that. And if that's just what the big boys have to play that way. Like that's
correct.
But
it does impact how you plan your season and how you plan the offseason. Like,
and I think what he's getting at is Benfica failing to get into Champions League would have been a massive blow in
100%.
every way, financially, in terms of capability to be able to recruit, having to sell. Like it would have turned the club upside down going into the season. So I think the way I interpret his message is, yes, you had a short off season. It's tough. I get that. Right. But you also knew that going into it, like you're saying, right? Like if you want to be in that competition, you know that window is going to be short. The way I interpret what he's saying is it would have been more risky with everything else going on for us to cut ties with Bruno Lage at the end of last season and then run the risk of, if you fall flat on your face and don't get into Champions League, now the house is on fire, right? So it's like, do I just roll the dice with a guy that realistically was in it till the end and failed in the second to last game at home in the title game, basically against Sporting, and hope that at least some of that cohesion remains and we can get into the Champions League. And then once we've solidified that, we can then figure out what happens after that. But that's the way that I interpret. So, but I get your point, right?
And that's fair. Yeah. It's easy for me to say this now after the results, right?
Yeah.
And had, like you said, had they not lost to Karabag in that game, then things would have been different. But for me, I just feel like then stick with them through this. Then why sack him after Karabag if that was your thought? Then just
Correct.
stick through it through the election at least, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like it's just if you're gonna
Problem is,
stick with the guy, stick with the guy. If you're not, then don't. I
if
know
you
it's the
stick with him,
election.
if you stick with it, I don't even care about the election. Like if you stick with him after that, I don't think it was just the Karabag game. I think it was Karabag, and then they tied to.
They tied first to.
Oh, was the tie
Rayovac.
first?
Was it?
I forget who it was. It was in the league.
I think
They
it was
dropped
Santa Clara.
point, and then lost to
Santa
Karabag.
Clara. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 1-1, and then they lost to Karabag 3-2
like-
after being up 2-0.
Right. I think like the risk you're running is you're tossing the league. Like if you stick with him and you drop more points in the league, like at that point you're running the risk of leagues out of your hands in October, which like is it's happened before, right? And like you don't want to get into that situation, so you got to pull the trigger. And I agree with Kenny. I think if you were going to if he was on this tight of a leash, you could have sacked him at the end of last season, brought someone new in, had them manage like what Real did, have them manage the Club World Cup. And that's essentially the preseason. You're using the Club World Cup as like the opportunity for the manager to get to know the players, get to know the squad, and then he can work through new signings in the summer once everything's over. But them not doing that, I don't think you can. After the Club World Cup, there was no way you could sack him after that and then give your new manager 2 weeks to build a squad, prep that squad for Champions League qualifying. Like there was no way you can. You're handing someone like TNT with gasoline poured all over it, and you're tossing a match at them. Like there's like it's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, and I think the other thing to look at is at the end of last season, like Mourinho wasn't available. Obviously, he was at Fenerbahce.
Yeah.
Right. So also looking at who was available to come in at that time. So I think there's a lot of caveats here in terms of who was available, what was the right decision. I mean, at the end of the day, we got into Champions League, which was a must, which allowed us to invest heavy in the transfer window again. The start of the season wasn't ideal, but there's still more than enough time, and we're still in everything to be able to turn it around. Now, I'll start with you, Bill, and feel free to jump in, Kenny. Do you I know that I don't remember Kenny's opinion on this, but I think Bill and I were aligned on this one, which I haven't been a fan of Mourinho's style of play for many years. I personally have never been a big fan of his persona, his lack of humility, and it just I hate players and I hate coaches like that. With that said, I must say that just his presence at the club has brought like a level of media attention like no other. I mean, this guy's got an aura and just a fan base that follows him, not just from a people perspective, but from a media coverage perspective. I mean, we've got Italian journalists in our press conferences. We've got English journalists in a press conference, like after a league game, like not even Champions League. Right. So I think that in itself has brought a huge impact from marketing and a visibility perspective to Benfica, which again, like for the size of the club, that's something that you would expect. But the reality of it, and I had this comment with someone else, which is if you go back in our lifetime, Benfica's now only had 3 managers who have won Champions League. 3 in our lifetime. Mourinho, Jupankis, and I can't remember the other one. Trapattoni. Yeah. 3. Literally, think about it. In our lifetime, we've had 3 managers who have won Champions League for a club with the history of Benfica, with the size of Benfica, right?
And the way we go through managers.
Correct. So like just to think how crazy that is that, this is now 3. But I just wanted to preface that with I wasn't his biggest fan of his style of play. I didn't want him at Benfica. But I must admit that in these first 4 or 5 weeks that he's been at the club, it's brought in a huge amount of attention from his press conferences. I feel like if you read between the lines, he's saying that he's a Benfica fan. I've heard rumors of people that are very credible and have good connections that him and his family are Benfica fans. He's just never publicly admitted it. I don't know about you guys, but I see a different Mourinho, at least in the first 4 or 5 weeks. Obviously, we'll find out if he's the same Mourinho when things, hopefully it doesn't happen, but if things get tough, right, do we see a different Mourinho? But I've just seen a more relaxed Mourinho, a more mature Mourinho, someone who's able to elaborate his answers in the press conference. Like I love listening to his press conference. Like previous press conferences were like
Bruno
15
Lage
minutes.
pressers or fucking
they were like 15
wars,
minutes, 6 minutes, and then
Dude.
like his are like 30 minutes, right?
Yeah.
But it's like I like hearing him going into detail of like this and that and the player and that, like not this fucking just cliche answers like, yeah, we did great, we were doing good, and but like it's just so. I wanted to preface with that. Bill, I think you were on the same page as me. Do you think he's capable of taking us to that next level? And what's your first impressions of him so far?
Yeah, my concerns with Mourinho have always been like his style, right? The very cautious, defensive, organized, not very flowing, attacking style of play. Which isn't the most fun to watch, but at the end of the day, results speak, right? Like
Correct.
with Trapattoni, we did not play pretty, but we fucking celebrated that campeonato like no other, right? Like at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. And I think what Benfica needs a little bit is some of that structure, someone that's going to get these players and the team like organized, willing to fight. And I think we've seen it. Especially the last 2 games, like the Porto game and the Chelsea game, I thought we were super organized defensively, right? Going forward, you lose a bit of energy when you're defending at that rate for that long. But the team stayed organized, right? And like the Porto game against Lage, we would 100% would have lost that game at some point. Like we would have,
although we won 4-1 there last year with him.
Yeah, like
I
feel defense. Like we would have done something to like shit on ourselves, like someone would have like brain fart or something, like something would have happened. And with Mo, it seemed more organized. Like they didn't really create much. We didn't either. It was a very tactical game. But I think we were at the point where I think we needed a bit of this. Someone that's going to come in, shore things up defensively. We're in a period when he came in, it was like game after like I think we had a game every 3 days or 2 days. So you didn't have much time to kind of implement anything. You needed to just get results, grind through it. And there's no one in footy more experienced than Mo. Like he's done it everywhere. So I'm enjoying him at the club. I'm enjoying the pressers, and I think I've sent Mike a few clips where like just certain times where you look at him and he like there was a clip of the Porto game where fans tossed shit at the bench, which happens all the time, and Mo goes over, grabs it,
and just
walks
takes
back,
it off the field.
but he like walks back towards the fans and like tosses it, and he like tosses it in like an arrogant way back toward the fans, gives them a little look, smirk, and it's like, dude, like this guy, yes, he made his name at Porto and he's forever grateful for them, but like I just feel like he's deep down, he's like you said, like there's reports that he is a Benfica fan.
Yeah.
And he's just loving this, and he's just loving like the Porto fans hating them, and he's like, I'm just waiting for like old school Mo to just kind of show up a little bit and do his little jabs at the fans. I'm waiting for it. I'm living for it.
I hope not. I don't know if you guys remember after the 3rd goal against AVS in his first game, there was a ball propped up on a cone in front of the Benfica
booted
bench,
it.
and he fucking
Was it a
booted
ball or
into-
was it a water
It was a
bottle?
ball. It was a
I
ball.
saw the
He
clip.
booted it into
Booted
the
it, yeah.
stands.
Yeah.
Kenny, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm like confused with Moo at this point. So I didn't know how to feel with him coming in. I didn't know, is this good? Is this bad? I mean, we've seen where his career has kind of gone since what? Since pretty much Real Madrid. No, Inter, I guess. And it's kind of disappeared. His aura has sort of disappeared after that, right? I
Yeah,
agree with you that he's still, from a media perspective, they sit on every word, on every like clip, like every sentence that they can clip
yep,
from him. It's kind of crazy because I think he still has um that wit about him,
mhm,
but not like before, in my
correct.
opinion.
Yep, I agree.
And the thing is, I'm not going to say like he's gonna spit on the hand that fed him, right? Porto and Chelsea, but like when he was at Fenerbahce and we ended up getting selected to play them or whatever, the draw came that Benfica was playing them. I remember one of his pressers. He's like, "I'm sure Benfica's not happy that they
Correct.
got Fenerbahce, right?" So
Yep.
like he's still like belittling us a little bit, right? I I haven't gotten the feeling that he's, because he had an opportunity to kind of like shit a little on Chelsea or shit a little bit on Porto, and he hasn't. And I'm not to say like, maybe I wouldn't do it either. Like that's where he had his biggest success, right? But
Yep.
like I almost want that back from him because he was kind of still praising Chelsea. Always will be a blue. Um, and I didn't really watch the Porto one, but like I just didn't feel like he had that edge about him where if when I expected Mu coming back to Benfica, I want that edge from him because I think that's what Benfica misses is that edge, and it's more mental than anything else. Because in my opinion, and I might be the only one, but I do think that Benfica squad is the best squad in on paper in the Portuguese league. And we came into the season, in my opinion, as the clear-cut favorites after Sporting lost their golden goose, Porto having one of the worst seasons or campaigns in a long time. They going by a whole new team. We going by a whole new team, but our players are well known. Our the players we brought in were like ones that Porto were after. And coming in, I thought we were the clear cut favorites. And here we are again, trailing behind and falling all over ourselves. And to me, it's mostly mental. And I think if there's anything that Mook can help us with, is that mental piece of it, is that edge that Benfica always misses, always, because we're this finesse club and we don't have that grit, that mentality to like dig our feet in and actually like fucking grind our teeth to victory and like shit all over the other opponent. I haven't seen that yet from Mourinho, but it has been a difficult schedule for him. I mean that is a tough schedule to as a new coach to come into. Maybe after the election things can take a turn for the better.
I doubt it. Just a
It's only
couple
gonna
of
get
points. What
worse.
you said. I
Yeah.
think I agree with you in terms of the edge and the mental toughness. I think if there's someone that he knows the league, he knows the club, he knows the expectations, and I think from a mental toughness perspective, he brings a lot to that locker room. I mean, speaking from the outside looking in, if you think about, as a player like Richard Rios, as a player like Sheldrup, as a player like Ivanovic, as a player like Samu or some of the young guys or Otamendi, right? You go from Bruno Lage to Jose Mourinho. Like it's just,
Yeah.
I mean, it
What a
not
jump.
only brings a different aura from a media perspective and attention perspective, but even from the players in the squad, right? To be able to work with one of the best, right?
Mhm.
Arguably the best, right? In some people's views, in modern times, just brings a different, right? Like there's so much I can learn from this guy, like I'm going to run through a fucking wall for this guy. And if there's a guy that can motivate you in a way that you're going to run through a wall, it's him.
You would
Right.
think, yeah.
And I think in the pressers, he hasn't had to have that little bit of edge. I feel there have been a couple of comments that I have picked up on, right? The comment about his contract,
Mhm.
and he went tit for tat with the journalist of, you guys are so curious about my
Concern.
salary. How much do you get paid? Right. And he kind of put the guy on the spot and was like, fuck, I'm not going to tell you. Okay, then I'm not going to tell you.
Right.
Right. So those are the mind games and the quick thinking.
And I think it was that same press conference. He was like, I would have made more just sitting at home.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
He said,
I'm
right,
losing
like,
money. I'm losing money being here. Yeah.
Correct. Right. So like those are the witty comments and the edge that he brings. Right. We also know that he's got a lot more in the bag when it comes to those comments and reactions. Two things that I picked up on that I made a note while you were talking was in this game against Porto, right, leading up to it, there was this all talk of like this Porto's firing on all cylinders. I think they'd won 8 of 8 in all competitions, historic. They're playing great, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. At the end of the game, Mourinho said in his presser, when we celebrate at the Marquês, people aren't going to remember the game against Porto that we tied 0-0. They're going to remember the Marquês, right? That's one comment that, again, from a mental perspective, I think
I didn't
sends
get
a message.
that one. Okay.
The other one is in his press conference after the match, he said he never felt that the team felt uneasy or felt, like they were questioning themselves. He felt that the team was organized. They understood what the mission was. They had some opportunities themselves. But he said at certain point in that game, he realized and his staff realized and the players realized that, okay, this is a gridlock, right? Porto's not altering their style of play. They're not opening up, right, as much as we would think they would being at home because they've got a comfortable lead, right? Even if they lose, right, they're still in the lead. If they win, they jump ahead significantly. If they tie, it's the same. But they never really opened up. They never changed their style of play. So he said at a certain point in the game, we all, players included, realized that, okay, we're going to stick to our guns. We can't lose this. At least if we leave here from this game, we're 4 points out, right? We're still in it. It's October. We've got a fight in the game. If we open ourselves up and expose ourselves, then we go out 7 points back potentially, which completely changes and alters the trajectory of the remaining of the season. So that's a mental aspect, right? And when I think of that, the mental aspect, it brings me back to Benfica 4, Barcelona 5.
Yep.
Right. Last kick of the game, the mental aspect of like, we've got to go for it. Right. And you go for it and you fucking shoot yourself in the foot. Right. Because they come right back down your throat. Right. So those are the things that Mourinho can bring to this squad of, listen, we want to win, but we sure as hell can't lose. Right. And understanding we're not going there to defend because I didn't think Benfica defended. I thought we were organized defending, but we had a lot of ball. Neither team really had clear-cut chances. But again, you have to understand at the point in time of that game, the point of the season, what's on the line. Early in his time at Benfica, he hasn't really had a chance to put his finger on some of the changes. Do we want to win? Absolutely. Do we want to leave 1 point down? Absolutely. Can we leave 7 down? Absolutely not. So that's one thing that, as you were talking, jumped out to me of like the mental aspect that he brings to this team. Let's move on to the summer transfer window. We're about halfway through here. A lot of moving and shaking in this transfer window. Actually, first, let me just run through some of these comments. Jay's tuning in. Hey, Jay. Gary's back. Hopefully you can do something with the squad in regards to Mourinho, Luis Castro. After Friday, we should see how much influence the Great One will have on the rest of the season, referring to the Taça game against Chaves. Nuno Soares says, não vejo Benfica jogar a Benfica 4-3-3 em contra-ataque. I would say the last time Benfica played a 4-3-3 in contra-ataque was first year of Roger Schmidt and then first couple of years of JJ, which was like unfucking stoppable. Jay says he still has the ability to work the media. Pedro says, hey, everyone, been a while since I caught you guys. It's been a while since we've been here, Pedro. It's not like you missed us. This is episode 1 of the new season. So we're back and hopefully we'll be here to stay. He's tuning in from Burlington, Ontario. Curious question for you, Pedro. I know that there's a Ms. Advotu in Toronto. How far is that from you? And is there another place that you can vote where you're located that's near? So curious to know if you're still tuning in. Jay says, just hope he lights a fire on the player's ass, mentally especially. Gary says, seems like he likes this challenge. I agree. I don't know about you guys, but I get the sense that, like, given how it ended with him the first time around and how his career went on, I do also get the sense in his persona and how he kind of comes across that it's almost like, I've got unfinished business, and
Yep.
I'm here to fucking revive this sleeping giant. I don't know if you guys agree with that.
From his opening presser, that's the sense I got. Yeah.
Bill, you agree?
Yep. 100%.
Pedro says, so far another disappointing season so far. Let's hope Mourinho can change the tide. Still early, Pedro. Let's believe Jay with his son moves the best goalkeeper.
Just delete that. Just delete that.
He's sleep deprived. 100%
Yeah.
sleep deprived.
New baby. Yeah. Sylvia's watching. Jean Miguel's watching. Joey says, wow, the ladies are back. About time. I know, it's been a while. Oscar's not here to entertain you, but the three of us hopefully can entertain you. But thanks for tuning in again. And Pedro says Toronto's about 45 minutes from Burlington. All right, so you've got one fairly close. Unfortunately for some of the people that are members and are further away, Canada's a pretty large country, so it's going to be tricky for some of those that aren't close. There's Casa Benfica Toronto. Not sure you can vote there. Yeah, you can. At the Casa Benfica in Toronto, my cousin's actually the president there. But yes, you can vote there. I think that's the only Ms. Voto in Toronto, if I'm not mistaken. But again, I feel bad for the people that are kind of in central or western part of Canada that are members and unfortunately can't vote. Louis says my IQ gets lower with Oscar. All right, so good. You won't lose any IQ points today since he's not.
Imagine us. We've known him.
We've known him all our life. Yeah.
You guys don't get any mail-in votes?
No, so that's
the
one
last
of the
one.
things
The last election we voted. I know Mike did as well online. This year,
not the last. Was it the last one? I don't even remember.
I think it was the Recosta one. I think it's 2020. I'm pretty sure it was that one.
I think the 2021. I got a pin, but I got the pin after the elections, so I couldn't vote.
Oh, no, I got
one after.
Gary, we'll talk about the elections at the end. We'll dedicate 5 or 10 minutes to that. Well, let's jump in quickly to the transfers. Let me just start this question from Gary. A lot of movement here. We've got Richard Rios came from Palmeiras. Franjo Ivanovic came from Union Saint-Gilles from Belgium. Dodi Luke Bacchio late in the transfer window from Sevilla. Dedic from Salzburg. Dahl, we signed officially. Sudakov from Shakhtar. Obrador from Castilla. Enzo Barrenechea from Aston Villa. Who else do we got here? I think that's it. Apart from returned loans. And then departures, we had Carreras left, Aktürkoğlu, Artur Piqueña. Tankstead went to Feyenoord for 6 mil. Tinu went on loan with the requirement to buy to Burnley. Martin Neto went to Elche. Di Maria left. Kokshu went to Besiktas. Thiago Vea went to Nice. Bayrami was on loan, but it's officially going to be confirmed as an official transfer to Luzern in Switzerland. Renato left. Belotti left. And Amdouni left. Kenny, looking at the... I said Aktürkoğlu was the second one.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Kenny, looking at the transfer window, I know that you kind of led into it a little bit earlier in terms of thinking that this team is the best on paper, and I agree with you. I still think there's a few gaps, and we can get into that. But thoughts on the quality of the team overall? And again, I think you've touched on it, but to add to what you've already said, right? Is there one or two players that kind of stand out to you already from a positive perspective? I think it's still too early to go in a negative perspective. I know there's some players that have gotten more flack than others. Yeah, there are some players that are still adjusting.
Because of the price.
But thoughts on, two guys that jump out to you immediately in terms of the squad, and then are there one or two gaps that you see, and where are they?
Well, I think from a holistic view, the team, the squad itself has starters everywhere and backups sufficient for the team. So I think as a whole, there is, to me, not a huge glaring gap. Now, it could, I think a couple of players have taken a step back. My main one being Pavlidis has been underwhelming to start the season. But I'm just sticking to the players that we signed. I think we signed some.
He's our leading scorer, by the way.
I was waiting. He's got like eight or 9 goals already.
Seven.
Okay.
Which isn't saying much. We haven't scored much.
No.
Look, I haven't. I'm trying to follow the games as much more than I did last year. Just from the games that I've seen, he's hard. It's hard to watch.
No, I agree.
I'm sorry.
He's had some
can't
games.
hold the ball in his foot half the time. But anyways, from the players coming in, I thought we signed some big names, some names that probably Benfica wouldn't have been in the running probably in years past.
Yep.
Richard Rios being the biggest one.
Yep.
I think that was the biggest signing of the
History.
season, of the history
Financially.
and financially, right? And look, he came in as one of those players that I thought would have an immediate impact. I don't know why I thought that, but I just had this feeling about him that he'd come in right away. Saw a couple of games. Well, I saw him at the
Club World
Club
Cup.
World Cup.
Club.
Football Matters.
I don't know why I'm having a hard time. Club World Cup. But I'm like, this guy could come in, and I thought he'd be that fire, that grit in the midfield. And I just haven't seen it. So, and I'm not. It's too early to tell. Like you said, I gave Cockshit a bunch of time to adapt. So I'm definitely gonna give this guy time to adapt. But the immediate impact player that I saw was like, this is a star, was Dedic. I think. I don't know why he's playing right back. That guy could absolutely be a winger.
Yeah.
I mean, he can take players one-on-one. He's got the pace, the speed. This to me, and I think he's back like good. He was injured for a little bit, but I think he's like solid.
He was. He played. He still played through it.
Yeah.
He played through it, but I've noticed he hasn't had the tape on his knee anymore. But I agree. I think he was playing really well, and then from the time he got hurt for the next like 3 or 4 games, he dropped a little bit.
Yeah.
But it looks like he's back to full health now.
Yeah, and I think honestly, that was like the biggest surprise. Had no idea about him, didn't know who he was, and immediately you could see the difference he made on the field early on. And then the second one was recently, and this player to me, just I think it's more of a conditioning thing. Luca Bacchio, another guy who I think is going to cause a lot of problems in the Portuguese league. Just his ability to take people one-on-one. I forget which game it was, but he just kept taking the line and just burning player after player.
It was the game against
we got a late winner.
That he came in.
He came in at like the 70th minute and torched
It was the game
everyone.
against Gil Vicente. Yeah, the 2-1 game.
And I think he gave us the game winner at the cross.
Because we were losing, yeah. We were losing 1-0.
So those two guys, to me, I think they're just, to me, difference makers. And I'm looking right now. He cost us 20 million, not cheap either.
Yep.
Didn't know really who he was, but those two guys stood out. Now, if Rios, if Enzo, I know Enzo's had a lot of hype and he's had some good games. I don't know, I have a little bit of a difference in opinion about him. But if the Enzo, the Richard Rios also step up, like, I mean, that's 4 good signings for the future of the club that should be, again, to me on paper, this is a great squad.
Bill, do you agree? What would you add to that?
Yeah, I agree with what Kenny said. And to me, Dedic is the one. I think it might be clear that he's the of all the signings, he's the one that has hit the ground running and just from the start just jumped out and was like, yep, this is the type of fucking player we want. We need 10 more of these guys.
Mm-hmm.
But I think personally, I think Enzo has been a beast in the midfield. I think there's been a few games where he's, I wouldn't say sluggish to get rid of the ball, but he's when he plays at the quick pace, when he gets rid of it, like, he's so good on the ball. He's so good building up from the back. He's kind of what we all wish Floating Tino was with the ball at his feet. Like, just get it back.
A different type of player.
Get it right. He's not as good defensively as Tino was, but far head and shoulders above Tino when he has the ball at his feet. And I think, to me, Sudakov, and I think he's going to be a player with just more time playing, is going to be unbelievable. Like, we saw it when he came in, when it was against Karabag, right? Those first 20 minutes, he was unbelievable, and then we all know how everything else went to shit in that game. But I think he's a really good, talented signing, and I want to see him more central. Right? Lately we've been seeing him get pushed out playing left wing, and I think that touches on. Someone had a comment about Sheldrup, and
Yep.
I'm unfortunately starting to lean in that direction as well. Like I don't know if Sheldrup is going to be the player we all wished he was going to be, and we saw glimpses of. I don't know if he's going to be that type of player and sustain that type of play. And I mean, Mourinho's come out and said it as well. Like he's not a player that's going to be in transitions. He's a player
No.
that wants the ball, and it's when you have the ball for 80% of the game, that's when he's going to be at his best. But I think signings we made improved the squad. To me, I wouldn't even say gap. The only spot that I wish we improved on is left back. We saw Obrador for a few minutes.
One game.
Yeah, and not much else.
Is he on the B team?
He's super.
He's been on and off, but he's been in the stands a couple of times too. But
yeah.
Rumor is Mourinho likes him, but in one of his press conferences he also said that he's a very timid player and he needs to kind of get that out of him. So clearly there's still some work to be done there. But they say that he's at a more advanced level today than Grimaldo was or Carreras was when he got to Benfica.
I mean, Carreras when he got to Benfica looked like me
terrible.
Playing left back, dude. So bad.
I still remember that. Like his
the long
header.
ball.
It was one long ball. He was like,
the header.
15 yards behind him.
Yeah.
Talk about bad judgment.
To me, that's the only spot I wish we improved on, just because we haven't seen Obrador, so we don't know what that signing is. And to me, Dahl is very good defensively. It's going forward where I think his issues start coming out. And I mean, we've seen it when he starts bombing forward. You play a ball out to him, he misses this, can't trap it. It goes under his foot, or forgets the ball when he's trying to take someone out. Like they're just little things that have kind of shown out with him that we didn't really see last year. And I think last year he was more defensive minded than attacking and didn't have to worry about the whole flank. But to me, that's the only spot I wish we maybe improved on more. Again, it could turn out to be that Obrador's nasty and it's going to take time. But outside of that, I think Enzo, Rios, they're just different types of players that we didn't have last year that give us that physicality in the midfield that we've been kind of begging for years. And then we have creative. Sotokov's a creative guy. Daldi's a creative guy. Ivanovic. Yeah, well, that's the problem, right? Yeah. But then Ivanovic is the striker that, from what we saw it, or the highlights you see, bags go left and right. We'll see if that comes to fruition at Benfica.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Mike. No, I'm just curious because I still see Benfica missing opportunities to feed the ball through the middle. We're still continually going side to side, circling the ball, and I just feel like it's a confidence thing where, because there's times I'm like, dude, just turn. You have space. Turn. Find Ivanovic. Find, even though I'm not a big fan right now of the Greek, but like there's opportunities to feed them the ball, and they're still more about pushing the ball to the outsides. And to me, yes, Enzo has played well, but I still see more of that with Enzo still circling the ball rather than just pivoting and pushing the ball up the middle of the field. Especially, like, I don't know, there's games where it's like frustrating to see, like, we're down or we're tied and we're looking for that goal and we're still wasting time circling the ball. I don't know if it's a confidence thing. I don't know if it's just a tactical thing that we keep moving the ball that way, or because I feel like we have the guys now. I feel like the triangle in the middle is good enough and confident enough.
Depends I think it depends. That's so I was going to say, like, if Sudakov's playing centrally, we've seen it from him. Like, he's willing to turn, like the ball gets played into him. He's willing to turn and look for the through balls, look for balls into space. I don't know if there's anyone else on the team that has that trait to want to sit in those little spaces and make that turn. It's like Rios isn't that type of player, right? He's high energy.
Yeah.
battle. Same thing with Freddie. Freddie is a possession, high energy type of guy. Enzo is your kind of build it up from the back type of player. Doddy, pace. Like we don't have too many guys that are willing to live in those spaces and have the attributes to be able to take that ball, turn, like you're saying, willingness to take that turn and play the risky ball in behind or play the ball through to the striker. Like with this, unfortunately, we just don't have it.
Because I just feel like we've become so predictable, and now
Yeah.
I get it. We have the right like we have the guys on the wings to be dangerous. But if you're just gonna keep going down that line, they're just gonna start doubling, right? You're just too predictable. You're gonna throw in crosses that are shit. Like you've got to mix it in, and it's I don't know why Benfica just doesn't. And at least for when I see it, and I don't see every game. I don't see every moment of every game. I wish I could, but when I'm watching, it's so frustrating sometimes to be like, dude, just let's change it up a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's just my view on it.
I agree, and we've got a lot of comments, so thank you to everyone that's commenting. Keep them coming. I'll give my opinion quickly, and then, I'll run through some of these comments. So, I think in terms of the transfer window, I agree with you guys. I think this transfer window we made some really good business on players that in years past would have passed up on Benfica or the Portuguese league in general and moved somewhere else. I mean, the fact that we're able to go get a Richard Rios, who is a Colombian international, 25 years old, one of the more recognized players in that position, high energy. He's got a lot of experience for a record transfer fee. There was rumors of other clubs being involved. Roma was one of them, right? And they weren't willing to match or give the structure of the payment that Palmeiras wanted. So the fact that we were able to lock someone up like him, Ivanovic, 21-year-old striker that was bagging goals left and right in Belgium. Again, hefty price, but the price comes with how the market is, right? Like it's not like Benfica is just saying, hey, we're going to give you 21 million. Is that okay? Right? Like it's the market, right? Like and the market dictates realistically what the value is. Luca Bacchio, in the small amount that we've seen, he's really the only player in our squad, which I think is a gap, that is electric, that is quick, that wants to go 1v1 every time. He is also capable of holding up the ball. He's able to cut inside and take shots. He's able to go to the line and pull crosses back. The gap, I think, is on the other side, where we have Auschnitz, who's more contention, contain, possess, time the game. We've got Sheldrup, who Mourinho said, he's not a guy that's gonna put the effort in off the ball, right? Which is a problem, right? Because then you've got a left back who's got to work extra, right? He's gonna be always 2v1, which is difficult for someone like Dahl, who's not a guy that has pace, right? He's not like a guy like Carreras, who that's fine, right? I'll go 2v1 with these guys, but then they're gonna have to chase me when I get the ball because I'm gonna beat them in that transition, right? Whereas Dahl's not a guy. Again, I want the ball on my foot. I want to possess it, play good passes, and when I know that Dahl's been criticized. Last year, he played further up the field, which I think helped him a little bit more. And he had Carreras behind him in most cases, right? Which brings a different dynamic. And in this season, he's got someone in front of him who doesn't create that dynamic. He's got someone, either Freddie or Sheldrup. Sheldrup's a guy that goes one-on-one, but he doesn't have that explosiveness like a Luca Bacchio does. He doesn't have that explosiveness, like your typical winger would have. So as a left back, on the other side of the field, you've got a right back that's like, cool, Freddie's not going to go 1v1 with me, right? Sheldrup, he'll go 1v1, but he's not explosive from a speed perspective. And then I've got the left back, right? So it makes it, in my opinion, it makes it more difficult for Dahl to be able to find those pockets in those gaps because he doesn't have someone in front of him that's creating that space for him, right? He doesn't have that guy that's putting the right back on their back foot of like, fuck, do I go? Do I stay?
Right.
I got to chase, right? So then he can move into those spaces. So I think Dahl is unfortunately the victim of the guy playing in front of him, not creating those gaps and spaces for him like Carreras would have created, or even Aktürkoğlu is a guy that constantly went into the gap and behind the defenders that created that space for the left back. So I think a different dynamic there. Sudakov is, to me, one of the best number 10s in the game today. 22-year-old. Benfica has good business and good relationships with Shakhtar, which I think helped immensely. Trubin the agent in the background
Yep.
doing his magic, sending comments on Instagram, telling him to come to Benfica, I'm sure had a big weight in helping him come. I think with time, this kid's gonna, set this league on fire. He's got so much talent, so much quality on the ball. His work rate is incredible. He can play as a center mid. He can play out wide. He can play in behind the striker. I'd prefer to see him in behind the striker. I'm sure Mo will play him there, but I think he's a player that absolutely we have to watch because he's got an immense amount of talent. And then to finish off Enzo and Rios, just in a gameplay perspective, the Enzo that we saw at the beginning of the season, the Enzo and the Richard Rios, in my opinion, that we're seeing in the last 2-3 games, I think is significantly different. I thought the two of them played really well at Stamford Bridge. Rios, unfortunate with that stupid own goal, but I thought he grew into the game in that second half. Game against Porto, Enzo, to me, was the best player far beyond anyone else, in my opinion. I mean, he was playing out of the back, spraying the ball left and right. He's not a player that's got pace. He's not a player that's going to get forward, but he gives you that quality of building up from the back that we've lacked since the other Enzo left, realistically. Right. Being able to play a 40-yard ball into the corner, play a short pass, play a quick one-on-one give and go. And having someone like Rios who also has the ability to play that. Now, he's not a guy that's going to give you that 100% assurance playing out of the back. Rios, that's not his style, right? He's more of a number 8. I prefer to see him further up the field because he has the ability to make a bad pass, as we've seen. But just his work rate against Porto, I thought was incredible. And he got a yellow card in the first half. I thought for sure he was going to get sent off. 100%. And he had a number of plays in that second half where he was chasing, and you can tell he kind of positioned himself in a way that I don't want to clip this guy by mistake to get another yellow card. And he put in a hell of a performance in the second half. So again, that experience factor, I think, plays a big part. I think we're starting to see, specifically with those two, the touch of Mourinho in that center mid, their work rate, how they're dropping in between lines, creating out of the back. I think in the next 2, 3, 4 games, I think we're going to start to really see a solidified midfield with Mourinho's touch of the two of them. Kenny, did you want to add anything quickly?
No. I did want to get to something, but I'll let you finish.
Okay. I'm gonna go through comments quickly, and then we can jump to the next thing, or Kenny can jump in and then we can jump forward. Lots of comments that came through. Let's see, where do we leave off? I got Gary's comment about the elections. We'll leave that for after. Jay said that Deitch is a stud. Pedro Vieira said, I'm starting to doubt Sheldrup. I'm too. I think he came with a lot of hype. I think from an ego perspective, he's got a big one, but I haven't seen enough from him. And I think
he's
that
got plenty of fucking chances at this point.
And I think the comment from Mourinho about him not being a type of player of 90 minutes and being that work effort, he's more of a guy that needs the ball on his feet. I think it's telling, right? Like, is this Mourinho, the experienced Mourinho, sending a message to a young kid in the locker room of like, listen, you're going to need to fucking work? Or is it something else, right? Like, I don't think he's good enough and I'm not going to, right? Time will tell over the next 3-4 games to see if he's an option. But again, these are the things, like, as a player, when you hear a manager like Bruno Lage or any other manager make that comment, and you hear a manager like Jose Mourinho make that comment, right? I think it hits differently, right? So time will tell. Jay says Sudakov. Gary says our bench is weak. Milton's back. Welcome back, Milton. Jay says Rios needs to step up. Miguel says I feel Ivanovic was we don't want Sporting to have him signing. Possibly. I mean, we've had our fair share of those, as have the other clubs. I think he's a player that has potential, but he's very much a player of, unfortunately, the league that we play in, you're going to play 95% of the games against low blocks, no space in between, not much space in behind. And he's very much a player who likes to pick the ball up and dribble or attack the space in behind. And there's not many games in the Portuguese league that he's going to have that. So he's going to have to adapt to certain moments. That may be why there's rumors that Mourinho wants another striker in the January transfer window. Time will tell, but there's rumors of that. So maybe he's also seeing that Ivanovic, yes, while he is young and has potential, it's going to be tough if he doesn't adapt to the Portuguese league, because he's not going to have that much space as he did in other in the Belgian league. Peter says we're lacking something up front. We're sluggish and very predictable. Kind of touches on what Kenny was saying. Gary says Dahl's a disappointment. I already addressed that. Dedic overruns too many balls recently. I think he's starting to come back into form. Belgian winger is good also. Luka Bacchio, he tries very hard, then overruns and forgets to pass. He's had some moments where he kind of gets ahead of himself. It's
when he cuts in.
He's already thinking about the next move before he's actually done the
Yeah.
initial move.
Could be a little bit of conditioning too there.
That too. He is a workhorse. I mean,
Yeah.
against Porto, it was like 85th minute, and he was, 50-yard sprint, slide tackle, and then he was like pumping up the fans. That's the energy that like Benfica lacks, is guys like that. But given the country, he's from a Balkan country, so that's in their DNA. Rui says correct. Kenny like Dahl last season, played better as a winger than a left back. Enzo's been excellent. He's a beast. Sudakov, creativity he brings to the game is what we needed, says Jay. Pedro says, seems we have no bench. Who's someone that can come in and make the difference? I'll earmark that. We'll touch that quickly. Bill is correct. Sudakov, he needs to be more in the middle. He reminds me of a young Rui Costa. Michael da Costa, hey, watching from Valencia do Minho. I'm pretty pissed we loaned out Gouveia and Neto. Bet Mourinho would have loved having them as options. First, thank you for tuning in from Valencia do Minho. Já é tarde desse lado. 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 2 in the morning. That's commitment to tuning in.
He's getting home.
Or he's getting home. Yeah. Although it's a Tuesday night, so maybe not. But we appreciate tuning in. If you haven't already, follow, like, subscribe on whatever, or you're watching on YouTube or Facebook. So give us a like or a follow. Gary B. Club's playing out of position. Tony the Animal. Boa noite, grandes Benfiquistas. He asked where we are. We are in the U.S. The three of us are in New England, Massachusetts / Rhode Island. Oscar is in the Sunshine State down in Florida, but he's not here today. And Jay's here in Massachusetts. And then we have the Portuguese podcast with a bunch of guys that are all over Europe. Let's see what else. Love to see Sudakov behind Pavlidis. I agree. Gouveia could have been used coming off the bench. How do you not like the Greek freak, Kenny? Dude, he scores caralho. Another problem been going on for a while is no one can come up with decent cross into the area. Again, I don't think we have wingers that have that type of play in ability.
Yep.
Yeah. Luka Bacchio gets to the line, but he pulls those crosses back, which I like, because we don't have, a Jardel in the box to get their head on it. DJ Infinite, what's up? He says, Mourinho levou um banho no treino. I don't know if you guys saw the video, but he was standing in practice and the sprinkler went off and fucking sprayed him right in the face. Talk about being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Agree with Kenny. It's like they're scared to go up the middle, even shooting outside the box. Rios does it now, but before it's like we were scared to rip a shot from distance. I feel like Benfica's been like that for a while. We try to walk the ball into the goal. I feel like that's something that's been there for years, unfortunately. But I do think that comes with confidence, right? If you don't have players that are confident in pulling the trigger from distance, right, you're more likely to try to walk it in. And as a defender, that's easier for you to defend because, all right, I'm going to leave you out there. You're not going to shoot. And if you do, you might kill someone that's sleeping behind the goal. So come at me. Overall, we got some good signings. We lost 2 good goal scorers in Kokshu, assists as well, and Akhtar Koglu. Agree, Enzo was top notch versus Porto, a beast, and Antonio Silva had a great game as well. I agree with that. I forgot to mention that, but good shout, Pedro. Now we're caught up on comments. Kenny, what did you want to add?
No, I wanted to get your guys' perspective on the forward situation. Now I understand. Okay, I didn't have the stats with me, right? So he's got Pavlidis has seven goals.
Yep.
But to me,
next leading scorer is Ivanovic with 3.
Okay. And what's our overall, like, I mean, I think you mentioned that we're underscoring
goals scored. We have in the league, we got 13 goals scored in 8 games and 4 conceded, right? So we're averaging 1.3, 1.2 goals per game, which is low, right? Compared to Sporting's got 20 and 8 and Porto's got 19 and 8.
So just, I mean, I get it. Okay. So he's still scoring, I guess. So I shouldn't be too critical, and he's the only one scoring for us. But I do feel like he's taken a step back, in my opinion, from outside the goal perspective, right? I'm looking at him like in holding the ball, he seems to be losing it more often. Like there's been some critical passes that have gone to him, or even long balls. It just seems like defenders are getting around him easier. Feels like the ball's bouncing off his foot when he is trying to hold play. I don't know. And he's really the only option. I mean, Ivanovic, I haven't seen much of him either. I don't know if seems like a young guy that has some potential, but I haven't really seen him play much. and then you don't really have any other option outside of that. So how do you guys feel about our attacking options? And really about Pavlidis? I know you guys are big on him, but
I mean, I can start and then Bill can add if you want. I mean, I agree. I think he's had some games, I would say earlier in the season, where he did look tired. He looked kind of out of his element. I think the team, the way that we were playing, also doesn't help him, right? I mean, he's a guy that he likes to drop into the midfield, help link up play. He's capable of scoring goals, whether he's shooting from a distance or whether he's putting them at the in the PK spot or at the edge of the six. But I think, unfortunately for him, and again, we judge strikers on goals, and I think a lot of things. One thing that goes under the radar when it comes to him is his ability to link up the midfield with the offense. I mean, his link up play is some of the best. His ability to turn and play balls out wide, to hold up play. Again, he's had a couple of games earlier in the season where I thought he was weak holding it up. He was giving it up cheaply. His first touch kind of wasn't there. I will say against Chelsea, I thought his ability to press the back line was really good. Against Porto, again, I thought he put in a hell of a shift. Again, this is a guy that's working his socks off for a lot of parts of the game that aren't his, right? He's putting in a defensive effort. He's pressuring. And then it comes to the moment where he gets as you can see from the goal scores, the goals scored in the league, in the league, he's not getting many, right? It's not like he's a guy that's getting 4, 5, 6 opportunities, right? And he's scoring 2 or 3. He's getting 2, right? Sometimes 1, and he's got to be super efficient, right? So I think if we look at the context of it, he's not getting many opportunities, but he's putting a hell of a lot of effort. But again, we judge strikers on goals. With that said, he's got 7 goals across all competitions in a team where in the league we're not scoring many goals. And I think last year, shows us a little bit of who he is, right? He started off really slow, and then when he got going, he fucking scored, right? I mean, he really only got going in January, I feel, December, right? And when he got going, he took off.
He ended up scoring like almost 30, right?
Yeah. So I mean, he's clearly proven that he can score goals. Last year he scored. I got it up here.
If it wasn't 30, then it was just below it.
Last season he scored 30. Scored 30 goals in 57 games. So he's capable. He's shown us that he can score goals. I just think everything together with the style of play, the struggles that the team has had getting forward, creating opportunities, creating gaps. I think, again, just like I think Dahl has been a victim of the guy that's playing in front of him, I think Pavlidis has been the victim of the team not really playing for him, right? Like, here's an example. Look at what Gio did last year at Sporting and look at Gio at Arsenal. Gio hasn't scored a goal in 8 games for club and country, right? And he's playing on arguably one of the best teams in the EPL, right? That has the ball all the time, right? But Arsenal's not playing what he was used to doing at Sporting. Arsenal's not playing the ball over the back for him to run onto.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're not playing in the context of their strengths and you're not creating a lot of opportunities, it's going to be tough. Do I think that's going to change? I think it will, but I think it's going to take a little bit of time. Hopefully I didn't say everything, Bill, but would you add anything to that?
No, literally what you said is what I was going to point out. Like we saw last year, right? Like when the team struggles to create, it is when he struggled last year, like to score goals. He was doing a lot of the work to get the ball up the field. And then by the time he got up the field, we had like lost possession or whatever, and he wasn't in those positions to score. And I think we saw a lot of that to start the season. And I don't think it helped. Like with Laj, I think Laj was determined to play him and Ivanovic together.
Correct.
But I think they had the roles reversed. He had Ivanovic dropping deep to connect with midfield,
he's not
which
good
he's not
feet.
great at. And Pavlidis is great at that. Like we saw it last year so much, him dropping deep, holding it up, and then connecting. And for whatever reason, he had it reversed, which in Pavlidis' style isn't to sit up top and hold defenders off and play like running behind. It's not what he does. So I don't think that helped him at all to start the season. And I think with Mo, it's looked like he's going back to one striker, wingers, a number 10 or someone like that in behind him. And I think that will eventually help. And I pray that he keep scoring at the rate that he did last year at the second half of the season, because last season, post January, like Mike said, he was just on a tear. I mean,
So
I would say of the
ideally-
30 goals he scored, he probably scored 20 of them in the second half of the season.
So ideally, you see Sudakov playing behind Pavlidis, and Ivanovic's piece to the puzzle is just a pure substitute for.
He's
Pavlidis.
a sub or Tossa games, rest day. Like
I think the starting
them.
11 we saw against Porto is probably our current strongest 11. You got Dedic, Otamendi, Antonio Silva, if you want to rotate Tomás Araújo in there, Dal, Barrenechea, Rios, Auschwitz, Sudakov, Lukavakio, and Pavlidis. And touching on some of the comments about the bench, right? On the bench, we had Henrique Araújo, Tomás Araújo, Leandro Barreiro, who played right wing in that game. He came in to play right wing because he brings that intensity. He's got that energy to help get forward and get back. Ivanovic, Lima, Gonçalo Oliveira, João Rego, Sheldrup, and Samu. We also have Manu, who's almost coming back. Cristiani is on international duty. And we've got Bruma, who's injured, and Ba. So I think looking at the bench, I would agree that, I mean, apart from Tomás Araújo, Leandro Barreiro, and Sheldrup, to some extent, you don't really have, unless you guys disagree, but I don't see.
I agree.
Ivanovic could be that guy, but I don't see a guy right now in that bench that you could say he's going to come in and flip this game on its head.
Right. And one of these kids could be a standout too at some point. Right.
Correct. João Rego, there's a lot of hype around him.
Right.
So he could be one of those. Henrique Araújo, João Miguel just asked, what do we think about them? I mean, he's been a guy that he's been through a few different clubs. I don't think, again, he's one of those situations where, do I think he deserves an opportunity on the squad? I do, because he's been kicked around, and this will be an opportunity for him, but an opportunity that he's not going to get many chances. So he needs to take the chances that he gets. Now, he's also one of those situations that I've said with many other players that if he wasn't from the Seychelles, no one would.
He wouldn't be. No, 100%.
Because he's been at 2-3 other clubs in the Portuguese league. And granted, he's surrounded with a different type of player, different group, different mindset. You're more defensive. You're not an offensive team like Benfica. You're not going to create as many chances. He hasn't been able to establish himself there. He's going to have very few opportunities at Benfica this season. Is he going to be able to take them? I hope he does, because he's someone from the youth. He's someone that knows the club. He's been there for a long time. And I would love to see him succeed. Do I think he's at the level that Benfica needs? No. Is he at the level for a third option for Benfica? Maybe. I mean, maybe.
I forgot.
I think as a third option, 100%. Because again, a third option is you're going to start a handful of games, Tossa games.
Like, will he play? I guess this weekend, this Friday will be a telling
or
situation. Does he play against Shavs, or does Ivanovic play against Shavs?
Yeah.
So the thing with the, and I don't, and you know me, I am not this like big youth supporter, like, oh my God, the next coming. Like, I'm not. But when, for whatever reason, when Henrique Araújo first got his like start, I forget which season it was, but he was coming in with, he was playing with when it was 2-man up top. I forget who he was partnered with. And he scored a few goals like back-to-back games. And I'm like, all right, this kid's got a knack for scoring.
He had a couple of games that he came in and scored late goals.
And I don't remember who he was, but like, I don't know if he's like a forward that needs...
I think
I don't know if it was Gonçalo. I don't think it was Gonçalo. Who else was on the team during that time?
Striker wise, I think it was with Roger Schmidt, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't think he was.
I can't remember, but
keep talking, I'll look.
I remember him coming in, like you said, late game.
Michael says Yaremchuk.
Yaremchuk. It was Yaremchuk.
Was it?
No, but that was Yaremchuk was Seferovic. It was Sefin Yaremchuk with a 2 striker. I mean, it could have been.
No, I think
there were a couple of. There were a couple of games where I think it was them too.
Seth was he?
Yeah, I think Seth was gone. You might be right, Ken. He might be right. Yadamchuk,
Yeah.
I think that was it.
And he scored some late goals, and it just seemed like he had a knack for being in the right spot. And he didn't really get a chance after that. So yeah, it sucks. It is a kid from the youth that I'd like to see. And again, I'm not a big like let the kids play, but for him, I do think he should get an opportunity because I think he has a little bit of a knack for goal. Now, I don't know if he's a solo striker type of player. I think he might need a second guy
someone
next to
behind
him.
him. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
But,
more of a guy like he's not very technical, but
right.
he seems to always be in the right spot at the right, like those fucking the ball bounce here, bounce there. All of a sudden
And
he's
boom.
there, pokes it in.
It was
Exactly.
the what
He's
was
like
the
that guy.
Poacher.
the
some sort
Eusebio
of
Cup game. I think he was the one that scored the winner, and it was the same shit, right?
I don't
It was like a
remember. But I
ball
remember
far
he's
post,
had
and he just fucking tapped it in.
a couple
Yeah.
of late games or late goals that he scored that I can remember recently. I can't remember against two, but like the fucking ball bounce here, bounce there, and like he's always there.
Yeah. So look, I mean, if he can get a minutes here, like you said, he's gonna have to make them count if he wants to stay and make a career here. But that's one guy that I've kind of hitched my wagon to and would like to see more of. But it's gonna be tough sledding for sure for him.
Agreed. All right, we've given you guys bonus minutes. We're gonna close this off. I had starred Gary B's question about the elections, and this is a topic that's divided our fan base for months now. Unfortunately, I don't think even after the elections that things are going to calm down. I think regardless of who wins, the opposition fans are going to complain, whether it's Rui Costa, whether it's Noronha, whether it's Luis Vieira. I mean, I feel like there's going to be noise regardless. As it relates to, I don't know if you guys saw, but we kicked off an initiative or a movement earlier this week called Benfica Global, which is really to give a voice to all the Benfica fans or members, paying members that are across the globe that unfortunately are not going to be able to vote in this election. And I understand that the statutes say that the electronic vote is not allowed, but it allows for it to be used if all the candidates agree to it. And one of the talking points in the movement that we published is that at the very least, all the candidates owed it to the paying members of the club to sit at the table and have a conversation about the electronic vote. What are the options? Is there any viable option? Can we analyze these options? Are they secure? Can we have confidence in it? What are the plans? Have that conversation. You at least owed it to the fans across the globe to be able to say, listen, we sat down, we talked about it, we didn't come to a consensus that there was a viable option, right? And the fact that you didn't even have that conversation, I think, is disrespectful to the thousands of fans, paying members that are across the globe that aren't going to be able to vote. Now, the club did a good effort to have locations to vote across the globe, but it doesn't encompass everyone, right? And my point here is that these elections have become for those who can versus those who want. And a club that has over 400,000 members, approximately, I think they said about 230 or 240,000 are capable of voting. All of those 240 or 250,000 aren't going to be able to vote for a variety of reasons, logistics, finances, right? Like you've got people in remote parts of the world. In the United States, for example, we've got voting locations in New Bedford, and I think Cambridge is the other one, if not mistaken, or it might be Cumberland, if I'm not mistaken, right? So you've got two in the Northeast, and you've got San Jose, California. The size of this country, you've got a huge Portuguese population in Florida. What do they do? Are they expected to jump on a plane and pay $300-$400 a flight, come to Massachusetts to vote, and then fly back? Right? You've got people all over this country that are paying members that pay every year to be a member, and they can't vote because the candidates could not sit down at a table and have a civilized conversation and say, listen, let's talk about it. If we don't agree and we have legitimate reasons to not agree that it's secure and safe, then fine. But we had the conversation and they didn't, which pisses me off. With that said, who do I think is going to win? I still think it's up in the air. I personally haven't decided who I'm going to vote on, if I'm being honest. I initially was a fan, and I know you're not supposed to talk about who you're going to vote, but I have no issues with saying who I was inclined to vote for. I thought Mentegas initially was someone who I was interested in his posture and kind of how he came across and some of his ideas. I feel recently he's come across a little bit differently in my perspective, seems a little bit more arrogant. He had a debate last week with Martin Mayer, which I wasn't really fond of. Again, just his posture. Martin Mayer would answer and he wouldn't look in his direction. Like just little things for me that like didn't sit well. Now, I also don't think he's ready at this moment. I do think in 4 years' time, I think he'll be a different level of candidate going into the elections in 4 years. So he was my lean up until recently. Now not so much, but I'm still very undecided. I mean, Luis Figueira I won't vote for. Cristóvão, unfortunately, it's a democracy, and we have to take every candidate seriously and give them the opportunity to share their ideas and their thoughts and their programs. I don't think he's anywhere near an actual legitimate candidate, and I'm sure he probably knows that. Mayed, he has impressed me more recently in his public speaking and things that he said. I also think, unfortunately, that he's not a legitimate candidate. I really think this is going to be between Noronha, Luis Figueira, unfortunately, and Rui Costa. I think those are the three big names. The thing that sucks is October 25th is the election. Benfica, being the only club in the world that has 2 rounds of voting. So if no candidate gets 50.1% of the votes in the first round, there's a second round. The top 2 move to the second round. We're the only club in the world because a group of 1,000 fans who go to the Assembleia Gerais who are capable of voting. Again, another annoyance of mine and many others is we've got a club with 400,000 members, and because the people that live closer are capable to go to the Assembleia Gerais, they can vote. So you've got 1,000 people basically voting on the future decisions of the club when we've got 400,000 paying members. But that's another discussion for another day. Who do I think is going to win? At the end of the day, I think the second round, I don't think we'll have a president the 25th. I think this is going to go to November 8th.
Oh, wow.
And I think that the decision is going to end up being between Noronha and Rui Costa. But again, I honestly, I don't know at this present moment. I don't know who I'm voting for. I said a lot. I don't know how closely you guys have followed. I don't expect you guys to give a full detail, but I guess if you had to give me 60 seconds of what you do know, are you happy with what we currently have? Do you think there's change that's needed? If yes, why? Kenny, I'll go with you.
Yeah, I'll go quickly because I don't know all the candidates that well. I tried to look into it a little bit today, but I just didn't have time. But I do know that I do know the front runners, and I do know Luis Felipe Vieira is pretty much running on his history, right? His let's face it, his winning history. But I'll just talk about what I believe, and I don't have a vote, so it doesn't matter to me. Well, it does matter to me, but it doesn't matter because I don't have a vote. I think the club is obviously ready for a change. Unfortunately, as much as it hurts me to say, Rui Costa tenure has not been what I expected it when he came in. I do think he's evolved as as a leader and as a speaker, but unfortunately, it just hasn't transitioned into results. And this is a results driven game, right? And so as much as I loved him as a player, I think the club needs to go in a different direction. And I think what my thought will be is that the club needs to move forward, not back with Luis Felipe Vieira. In that case, I think Noronha Lopes will probably end up being president. And I think it will be good for Benfica. I think it's time to just close this Luis Felipe Vieira, Rui Costa cycle. clean up, start fresh, start a new cycle, a new era, a new vision for Benfica, and see what that brings. And that's all we can hope for is change, and hope that that change leads to more victories and more success, because we deserve it as fans, as members, yourself, right, and Bill. But it's been a tough sledding these last, was it 4 years with Rui Costa?
Yeah,
4 or 5, yeah,
4
4 years.
4.5.
Yeah, and I can't do that again. So it needs to happen. I think change needs to happen, and then hopefully the results will come with it.
Bill.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, me and Mike we were talking about this before we got on. Like it's easy for these candidates to say, "Oh, I'll do X, Y, and Z, and we'll keep the Seychelles kids, and we won't." Like it's easy to say it, like, but you don't you're not in the club. You don't know the cost to operate the club. Like it's easy from the outside to say, "Oh, we'll cut costs and we'll be able to save money and be able to afford these players to stay longer." Blah blah blah. Like
I'll bring in Klopp.
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah,
so stupid.
Like it's like, and then I think Noronha was the come January, if I'm president, I have a contract waiting for.
Yeah, he said it yesterday again.
Dude, anyone that is president at Benfica will have a contract waiting for Bernardo Silva come January because he's a free agent. Like anyone that doesn't mean anything. But yeah, I'm like Mike. I'm on the fence. I haven't made my decision yet who I'm voting for. I agree with Kenny that I think it's time for change, to close the Vieira Ricosta whole chapter. Unfortunately, I just don't know if these candidates are the right ones to go forward. But yeah, I'm still up in the air. I've been liking Mentegas. I think some of his stuff some of his ideas have been good, but only time will tell. And again, I'm undecided at this point who I'm voting for, but I do think it is time for change. But I don't know if it's going to be one of these candidates for the good.
Jay says, "Stop it, you guys know." I honestly don't know. I don't know who I'm voting for, but maybe in the next 11, or hopefully in the next 11 days, I'll have a better decision.
Figure out
who's the closest to Veredas, because he's done a good job at Sporting. Like,
I don't know who would be the close. I mean, from a personality perspective, no one.
No. Yeah, dude.
But Veredas also didn't have any experience. He was the head of the fucking medical department at Sporting.
Yeah.
So it's not like he had background of like managing massive companies. That wasn't him. But if anything, it shows you that I'm of the opinion that I don't expect the president of Benfica to know everything, nor do I think the president of Benfica needs to be this football guru. What I think the president of Benfica needs to be is someone that's serious, professional, and surround himself with the right pieces. You need to have proper CFO. You need to have proper director sportivo. You need to have proper everyone. And if you surround it, just like any other company, right? Managers, bosses surround themselves with good pieces and make good teams, right? We can't expect the president of Benfica to do everything. That's not realistic. And I think that's going to be the important pieces. Who really surrounded themselves with the best pieces and not just names to raise eyebrows, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, that guy is a former, like Rui Costa just announced Humberto Coelho is a vice president, right? Like, is that an actual tangible option of someone that can bring something to the club? Or is it more on paper of like a legend is here, right? Nuno Gomes, same thing, right? Vitor Pineda, same thing. Those are guys that like say something to the fan base, right? Of like they're legends, they played for the club, but like, can they bring something tangible in the day-to-day, in the backstage? Can they do the work to get the results versus I play, right? And you can say the same thing for Rui Costa, right? Former player, Benfica fan since he was a kid, right? But like Bruno Lage, right? Being a fan isn't enough, because if that was the case, we'd all be players, we'd all be right. Like, that's just not how it is in the real world.
Yeah.
So
two questions for you guys. So I think it's good though that Benfica has multiple and a plethora of options for running to be president. I don't think that you see that in the other like top two clubs, right? So I think that's a good thing to have those options. So I'd like to hear your opinion on that. And then the other is, I think the last time Noronha Lopes didn't run against Rui Costa, right?
The
He
last time, no,
he
it's just
he
Benitez and
ran.
Rui Costa.
So
2020
he
he
ran-
ran.
he
Yeah.
ran against Luis Livieta. So I think that at that time, you Mike, and maybe you too, Bill, were on the Noronha Lopes.
I wasn't.
Oh, you weren't.
I voted Luis Fade in the last elections.
You
I
probably
remember
regret
talking
that.
about it on the podcast. I do regret it. And I was much of the opinion of
I mean, I voted for Rui Costa the last one, so
I was much of the opinion that I wasn't sure we were ready for change given everything that Luis Fade had done. And then the shit hit the fan and he got fucking walked out in cuffs. But
yeah.
So he's kind of like I would say the front runner at this point, or pretty close to Rui Costa.
The polls say that Noronha's in the lead by like 38%, and Rui Costa is like
These are Trump style
20,
polls.
27. But the thing is, the polls, anyone can vote. You can vote multiple times.
Yeah.
Even if you're not a member, you can vote. And the poll voting doesn't take into consideration the number of votes that I have, right? You've got members that have 50 votes, right? You've got members that have 10 votes, 20 votes, or 25 votes. So the polling, while the percentages could say 37, 27, 35, 27, right? But you got to take into consideration that you've got the old timers who all have 50 votes, right? So you can get
like,
10 old-timers that are 500 votes, and you've got 15 young guys who've got 5 votes or 10 votes, right? Cool. You've got more people, but you've got less votes.
Yeah. But the last time Noronha Lopes went up against Luis Livieta, it was pretty close, wasn't it? Or did he?
I don't remember off the top of my head, but I want to say that he won by a lot.
See if I can
really?
I'm almost positive he won by a
what year was
amount.
That? 20
probably 2020, 22.
No, it was in 20.
No,
was it 2020?
No, 2020 was the
it was 2020. He got 34. Noronha got 34%, and Luis Fade got 62.
Yeah,
and Rui Gomes da Silva got 1%. So he beat him by almost 30%. So it was a decent gap. Now, do I think this time around it'll be different? Yes, I think it'll be a hell of a lot tighter. But I think the second round plays a huge part, which I don't like. And the reason I don't like it is, let's just say Rui Costa and Noronha go to the second round, right? You now have people that are going to vote in that second round, and they are likely going to vote for someone who they didn't vote for initially, but now they're going to vote for them because they don't like the other person, right? And that creates that element of like, I may not even think that this person's the right person for the job,
but I don't
like that guy, so I'm going to vote for him, right? Where I think the one round, well, I get what, when you have 6 candidates, the winner of the elections could potentially walk away with, 34% of the voting, right? And win it because there's so many candidates. I get that perspective, but at least it's a democratic vote where it's like, I'm going to vote for the guy that I want. And if the guy that I want doesn't have enough, then he doesn't have enough. And if the guy that wins gets 35% and that's enough to win, then he wins. When you get into that second round mindset, it gets a little bit tricky, because if you end up with someone who people don't like,
well,
then you get I'm going to vote for that guy because I don't like that guy.
If it's Rui and Noronha, everyone that voted for
that's the thing.
Vegas is going to vote Noronha,
or even if
because they don't want to vote for
imagine
Rui.
It came to, which I don't think it'll happen, but like if you got Luis Fade and Rui Costa, right? Like I don't think it'll happen, but like
fucking World War III.
Right, you're going to have people that are going to vote blank because you can vote blank, right? So it's like the second round, I feel like fucks with the concept of a democratic election, in my opinion, because I think it could, while I think it could have benefits, there's a reason why no other sports club does it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So
I'm with you. Yeah.
I think it's a little bit tricky. All right, we've given you an hour and a half, 30 more minutes then, but we were consistent. It was a consistent performance over 90 minutes, which Benfica hasn't given us in a while. Hopefully against Shabs this weekend or this Friday they can. Quickly before I see some of these comments before we close it out. Jay says Nordonez's vote would be his vote. McDonald's for everyone. Gary says if Nordonez wins, who's the coach? I don't think anyone's going to come in and sack Mourinho. I think it would be the fucking stupidest decision they've made. And come in and create waves immediately would be stupid. Let's see. Danny says Nuno goals will teach these strikers a thing or two as well. Maybe. Let's see what else. Mike, has that ever happened before the second vote? No, this is the first time. It goes into the effect this time for the first time. They just voted it in the statute. So this is the first time. If somebody doesn't have 50.1% of the votes, there is a second round, which happens November 8th. Would be surprised how many people would go out second time to vote. Probably would think less votes would be casted. That's another piece, right? Yep. People already have to make the effort to get to the voting tables for the first vote. 2 weeks later, they got to do it again.
We have a game.
We have a game on the 25th against Aroca at home. Yeah. So it ends up working out. Some fans will already be there.
Go and vote in the pavilions, and then
Gary says, "Good job, guys." Quickly, Miguel sent me a message about we were talking about Enrique Araújo. The goal that I was thinking of in my head was against Vizela in the 21-22 season, and he was playing alongside Gonçalo Ramos and Darwin that season.
Okay.
And I was trying to think of that game that Miguel sent me. Because I remember it was fucking downpouring, and a coworker of mine went to the game. I got him tickets, and that game just rang a bell in my head. I just couldn't think of who it was against, but he was playing at that time with Gonçalo Ramos and Darwin Núñez. So it was definitely longer ago than I thought. I didn't realize it was 21-22. I thought it was more recent, but yeah, it wasn't Yaremchuk. Hopefully you guys liked it. First episode of the new season. Again, we went longer than we wanted, but I guess we started off with covering everything. We had a lot of shit to cover. So hopefully we checked all the boxes. This is a great job, guys. Carrega Benfica. Again, if you're tuning in, don't forget to follow, like, share, subscribe on all the various platforms. We'll be back next week. Benfica plays on Friday against Chaves for the Taça de Portugal. We'll talk about that game next week, and we'll have a little bit more of an idea of where the elections are going. Also tune into, we're preparing a special podcast, the Portuguese podcast, to talk about the elections and just kind of debate that. So that will be within the next week. So keep an eye out for that. Gentlemen, good start to the new season, at least for us. Benfica's start hasn't been as promising, but there's time. There's time. Let's believe that Mourinho is going to flip the script here, and we're going to get shit done. As always, a pleasure. Viva Sport Lisboa Benfica, and I will see you guys next week. Good night.
Take care, boys.
Good night, boys.